Something that's been a bit of a debate within the carnivore community lately is salting your food. Should you salt your food? Should you not salt your food? You know, some influencers out there say that they have stopped salting their food and they're feeling better that way and so forth. Other people say, no, I'm not getting enough sodium. If I don't salt my food, I need to salt my food. So, this has definitely been a bit of a debate. And, you know, I can see both sides of it. I can see where if your body is in really good shape, you're pretty healthy, and things are functioning as they should, where maybe you are getting enough sodium just from what you're eating. You may also be drinking an electrolyte that has sodium, so that might be part of it. But, you know, I can see where that could be the case. And then I definitely see the side where people say that they need the sodium. And in some cases, people just say, you know what, my food just tastes better when I salt it. So I'm going to continue to salt it. And that's probably perfectly fine. You know, one of the things that people say with putting extra salt on your food is that they've noticed that it does raise your blood pressure a little bit. And it can. There's a very small minority of people that seem to have it raise up a little bit more, but overall, sodium, a higher sodium content in your body is only going to raise your blood pressure by a couple points. So it's not a really big thing, and it should not be an issue for the most part. But there are some rare instances where it affects people even more than that. So that is something to consider. But overall, I don't think it's big enough of a deal. Most likely, unless you already have health issues, like I kind of said before, the sodium, your I shouldn't say your sodium, but your high blood pressure is already pretty good with being on the carnivore diet. You may be somebody that had high blood pressure before and you're still regulating that pressure and trying to get it into a normal range. But nonetheless, um, it doesn't really seem to make a big difference unless you're eating carbs. Then, you know, if you're eating a lot of carb, if you're eating a lot of plant based food, then you are going to see more water retention in your body, which, um, you know, with the sodium, which does raise your blood pressure up more. But anyway, so let's go into some things that people can look at if they're not sure on whether or not they should be salting their food or not. Let's look at some symptoms of low sodium levels in your body where you would want to make sure that you're salting your food. And these can really range from mild symptoms to very severe symptoms. But one of the big things is headaches. If you're having any kind of headaches, migraines, whatever, a lot of times it means that you are deficient in sodium. And if you increase your sodium level, so you do more salting of your food, that will take care of the headaches. I'm not going to say that that's 100% always going to fix headaches, but a lot of times that does fix the headaches. Okay, another reason is fatigue, for instance, right? And this is could potentially be more of an electrolyte imbalance altogether, but just adding some sodium, you know, taking a little bit of salt, putting it, you can take a little bit of salt on your finger, put it on your tongue or underneath your tongue, and kind of let it dissolve a little bit, and then drink a little bit of water, and you can do that, and that could very well help with your fatigue if you do that once a day in the morning, let's say, or something like that. Um, any type of muscle weakness or cramping, your muscle cramps, twitching your muscles, all of those types of things can be because of low sodium levels, can be electrolyte imbalance altogether. It could be something else, you know, it could be um, magnesium, potassium, something like that. But with the carnivore diet, you're probably getting enough magnesium. So maybe it's more sodium, potassium, that type of thing. But most likely it's the sodium is going to make a difference for you. So definitely leg cramps, muscle weaknesses, stuff like that, fatigue, like I had mentioned, those types of things, you definitely want to try adding a little more sodium into your diet and see if that helps. A lot of times that will make the difference. Heart palpitations, that's something that can definitely happen when your electrolytes are out of balance, and it could just be the sodium. I've definitely had that happen to me before, especially when I've been outside working or something and sweating a lot and so forth. And even with taking a little bit of electrolytes, it still wasn't enough. And I had some heart palpitations, added a little bit of sodium using the Redmond's real salt, just put it under my tongue, whatever, and wash it down, and the palpitations went away. So definitely, if you have heart palpitations that aren't normal, like you don't always have them, that's something to consider. And if you do always have them, but you don't eat a lot of salt, maybe that is another thing to try. So I shouldn't just say if you, it shouldn't really just be if you don't normally have them, because you might normally just be low on sodium. Um, and then there are some more severe things, because sodium is really needed by our body, and it's possible for things like confusion, um, and even worse, like seizures or comas, because you did not have enough sodium. You were very deficient in sodium. So obviously you want to pay attention to the other earlier signs that we talked about, some of those mild things that can definitely caused in many cases by low sodium levels. And then a couple of other things that maybe aren't quite as serious, but still could be a fairly common symptom of low deficient sodium levels, would be nausea and vomiting, believe it or not. If you don't really have any other reason for it, that you don't have like other aches and pains, so it doesn't seem like it's like the flu, or it's like something bad that you ate or anything like that. It could just be that you're getting really, really deficient in sodium, especially if you're somebody that does not add salt to your diet. So these are all symptoms that you should consider if you're the type of person out there that is, you've decided, I'm going to pay attention to some of the influencers out there that say I don't need sodium in my diet, other than what I'm already getting from the meat. And again, it may be enough, but it may not be, and you might be deficient. And you want to pay attention to these symptoms just in case that is an issue. Um, and, I think that is one of the key things with everything within dieting and what you're eating and so forth is, how do you feel? Are you having symptoms? If you're not having symptoms, then you're probably fine. But if you're having symptoms that correlate with a certain thing, then you might need to look into that particular thing. And that's not just talking about low sodium levels, but that's talking about anything. Your body is pretty good at giving you signs when there's something wrong. Now it's up to you to pay attention to your body and to be able to understand those signs. In some cases, people don't realize that they are having signs, and that ends up hurting them in the long run. So that is something that you do have to keep in mind there. But, listen to your body. If there are problems, most likely your body is giving you signs as to what those problems are.